Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbàdúrà. Ọlọ́run ọba alágbára jùlọ, ẹlẹ́dàá àti alákòóso ayé òun ọ̀run, àwa ń bẹ̀ yín wípé kí ẹ wá ṣe amọ̀nà wa, kí àwa bá lè máa rìn ní ọ̀nà òtítọ́ pẹ̀lú ìfẹ́ àti àánú sí ara wa. Ẹ wá fún wa ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ yín kí àwa lè máa ṣe gbogbo ohun tí yóò mú ìgbéga, ìṣọ̀kan, ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀, ìdùnnú àti àlékún àìsíkì orílẹ̀-èdè Nàìjíríà lápapọ̀ àti ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó ní pàápàá. Àmín. Ẹ káàsán ẹ̀yin ẹlẹgbẹ́ mi. Ẹ káàbọ̀ síbi ìjíròrò ti tòní. Ẹ jẹ́ ká ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò ìjíròrò ìpàdé yìí tí ó kọjá. Page 125, 126, 127. Honorable Laiwala.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to call our attention to page 44, sir. That's under announcements. Section 3 there, we have line 5, where we have quoted. Quoted is strongly spread there. It's K-O-U-T-E-D that was put there. Supposed to be Q-U-O. Then, secondly, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir. On reports, that's item 4 there, under 2, with the last sentence there, the last word there is centers. Center is not spelled the way it was spelled here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, sir.
Kindly make necessary amendments. 126, 127, 128. A ti ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò àkọsílẹ̀ ìjíròrò yìí tí ó kọjá, a sì fi òǹtẹ̀lú. Iṣẹ́ tí gómìnà fi ránṣẹ́.
Olùdarí ilé àti gbogbo ọmọ ẹgbẹ́, a rí ìwé kan gbà láti ọ̀dọ̀ gómìnà. Màá fẹ́ gba ìyọ̀ǹda pé kí n ka ìwé náà ní èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì láti ọwọ́ olùdarí.
ẹ lè gba ìyọ̀dá bí ẹ sì mú dání ná
Okay, sir.
tí a bá so ẹsẹ̀ òfin lé tó máa gbà wá láàyè tá a bá ti sókò àpadà wá kà ní. Àwọn ìfilọ̀ mìíràn.
A kò ní ìwé ìfilọ̀ kankan lónìí.
Ìwé ìfẹ̀hónúhàn.
A kò sí ìwé ìfẹ̀hónúhàn kankan lónìí, sir.
Ọ̀rọ̀ pàjáwìrì lórí àǹfààní aráàlú. Kò sí. Àlàyé ara ẹni. Kò sí. Àbọ̀ ìwádìí. Kò sí. Ètò ìmúṣẹ́ṣe. Igbákejì olórí ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ tó pọ̀ jùlọ.
Olùdarí àti àwọn ẹlẹ́gbẹ́ mìíràn tó kù. Ètò ìmúṣẹ́ṣe tòní 2 sí 3 àbí 4 la fẹ́ ṣe lónìí, ṣùgbọ́n ká lè ráyè ṣe kíní ní ìrọ̀rùn. Mo fẹ́ dá lábàá pé kí a so abala kejì ẹsẹ̀ 11 òfin ilé lórí ìlò èdè Yorùbá fún ìjíròrò ọjọ́bọ̀ láti lè fi èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì ṣe àwọn iṣẹ́ tí ó kù lórí ìwé ètò ìmúṣẹ́ṣe tòní. Mo dá lábàá.
Aṣòfin ti jáde.
Ẹ ṣé olùdarí, mo dìde láti kí àbá yẹn lẹ́yìn.
Ṣé gbogbo wa ló fara mọ́? Àwọn tí ò fara mọ́, àwọn tó fara mọ́ ló pọ̀ jùlọ. Kí a tó bẹ̀rẹ̀ ètò ìmúṣẹ́ṣe tòní, a padà sórí akọ̀wé àgbà kí wọ́n lè ka ìwé tí gómìnà fi ránṣẹ́.
Right Honorable Speaker, sir, distinguished honorable members, we have a correspondence from Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, addressed to the Honorable Speaker, Lagos State House of Assembly, LSHA Ikeja. It is titled, Request for Ratification by the Honorable House of Assembly of the Lagos State Unified Fiber Infrastructure and Connectivity Projects Agreement. With your kind permission, sir, I'll read. The Lagos State Unified Fiber Infrastructure and Connectivity Project Agreement was executed in February 2020 between the Lagos State Government and MESA Western Telecommunication and Engineering Services Metro Limited. The project entails the deployment of unified fiber ducts infrastructure for carrying telecommunication cables and other wired infrastructure to support operators of telecommunication and other relevant utilities, as well as provide infrastructure and connectivity requirements for Lagos State government. The state, by this agreement, intends to implement a dig once policy in a bid to eliminate fragmentary and or constant digging of state roads and associated rights of way by operators. The agreement is for an initial term of 25 years, which may be extended by the parties in writing prior to its expiration or by a friction of time on mutually agreed terms and conditions. In consideration of the rights and privileges granted to the company by the state, the company shall pay to the state as fees 10% of the revenue generated from the lease of the ducts to operators, in addition to providing the Lagos State government with duct capacity and dark fiber to points of interest in accordance with agreed terms. In view of the foregoing, I hereby present a copy of the project implementation agreement for ratification by the House of Assembly. Please accept the assurances of my highest regard. Signed, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, Governor of Lagos State. That's all, sir.
Thank you. Well, this is an agreement that has been reached, only seeking for the House approval. Unfortunately, the chairman of the committee is not here with us. Maybe we have to hold on. I'm sure he's stranded in Abuja with this lockdown. And We should just exercise patience till the next meeting. We know what to do if it's not available by then. If we have to set up another committee to go ahead and treat the request. So we hold on to the next sitting. Yeah, business of the day, laying of reports. Honorable Sokunle.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, fellow colleagues. I am here this afternoon to lay a report of the Committee on Health on a letter from the Office of the Attorney General / Commissioner for Justice titled Observations on Recently Passed Coronavirus Pandemic Emergency Law 2020, Isolo I.
Honorable Braimoh.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I'm here before you this afternoon to lay a report of the Committee on Information, Security and Strategy on a letter received from the Attorney General of the State in respect of the recently amended Lagos Neighborhood Safety Code Law, Isolo I.
Yeah, Deputy Majority Leader.
Right, Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, business of the day. We have presentation of reports. 1, observations on the recently passed Coronavirus Pandemic Emergency Law 2020. 2, observations on the recently passed Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Agency Amendment Law 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, for us to take this report, may I move that this House resolves to Committee of the Whole? I so move.
Honorable Kasum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved.
All in favor say ayes. All in favor say ayes. Those against nay, the ayes have it. Yeah, Honorable Sokunle.
Good afternoon.
You have to shed your marks. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, fellow colleagues. The report of Committee on Health on a letter from the Office of the Attorney General / Commissioner for Justice titled Observation on Recently Passed Coronavirus Pandemic Emergency Law 2020. Mr. Speaker and distinguished colleagues, preambles. The House at the plenary session on Monday, 4th May 2020, deliberated on a letter received by the Office of the Clerk from the Attorney General / Commissioner for Justice titled Observation on Recently Passed Coronavirus Pandemic Emergency Law 2020. Same was committed to the Committee on Health to look into it and report back on Thursday, 7th May 2020. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to point out a very serious omission on the list of members of the committee. Honorable Bizi Yusuf's name is omitted. I want it to be added, sir.
You want to do it?
I want it to be added, Honorable Bizi Yusuf's name,
Okay.
as a member of the committee. Meeting of the committee. Consequently, a meeting of the committee was conveyed by the chairman, Honorable Sokunle O.H, on the 5th May 2020, with members of the committee, Honorable and counsel from the legal department of the House, to look into and deliberate on the observation raised in the above-mentioned letter and find a way out in resolving the issue raised. Members x-ray and deliberated on the issue raised with a view to prefer solutions. 4. Observations. 1. That the phrase "subject to" in section 2(1) be deleted and replaced with "pursuant to" for the purpose of capturing the intendment of the subsections. 2. The section 2(3) be deleted as it contradicts and derogates the power granted to the governor in section 2(1) and 3. 3. that Section 3(2)b and its proviso be deleted, for it is unnecessary to limit the period of declaration of a state of emergency to 3 months or prescribe the mode of state of emergency may be declared. 4, that Section 4(2) of the law be deleted, as the oversight function of the House of Assembly remains sacrosanct, therefore rendering the provision needless. 5, that Section 5 of the law be deleted, as it creates an additional layer of bureaucracy and bottleneck to spending during the epidemic, as well as cast shadow on the executive's fund management ability. Recommendation. Having considered extensively the observation raised by the Office of Attorney General of the state, the committee recommends as follows. 1, the phrase "subject to" in Section 2(1) is retained, as it is in conformity with modern drafting techniques, and it makes the entailment of the law clearer and subject to the provision of Section 45(1) of 1999 Constitution as amended. 2, interpretation section be amended in Section 1 under definition of essential services by inserting Executive Council, legislative and judicial arms of government of the state after the word "includes." 3, with regard to paragraph 3 of the observations, the committee is of the opinion that it is not an usurpation of power to create a procedure for acting a donated power, for activating a donated power, Section 305 of 1999 Constitution as amended, which gives the President the power to declare a state of emergency, clearly stipulates the procedure to be followed in exercising that given power. The committee is of the opinion that it is not an usurpation of Mr. Governor's power, but a constitutional exercise of the legislative duty to establish procedure by which a state of emergency may be declared under health emergency via a law of the state. The committee also points out that we are all in this together. Once Mr. Governor communicates his intention to extend the state of emergency to the House, it will expeditiously be dealt with, as already stated in Section 23(2) of the law. Number 4, Mr. Governor should be mindful of the fact that the fund referred to are funds not budgeted for, and it is not in the consolidated revenue fund or development fund, but are donated and grants. And since Mr. Governor is so mindful of his public image, it is only right that we help him to do so, which is why the provision of Section 4(2) of the law is sacrosanct. It should also be pointed out that the President is able to promote accountability and probity, as directed that all donations, funds, and grants in respect of COVID-19 be deposited directly into single treasury account. Also, ICPC has issued guidelines in respect of the said fund. It is the duty of the legislature to ensure that laws are made in accordance to Section 4(8) of 1999 Constitution to promote good governance. Lagos State is a leading and shining example of good governance and accountability, which Mr. Governor is a proponent of. It suffices to say that the inclusion of this section is even to promote the image of the state as well as that of Mr. Governor. If the right and proper structure are put in place and implemented, the governor need not worry about wrong perception being arrived at by the populace, because he will then be sure that the right steps are followed and good results are guaranteed. Mr. Governor, in the letter by Attorney General, argued that Section 128 of 1999 Constitution already provides for the investigation powers of the legislature. The committee opines that this does not preclude it from being contained in this law, as long as it is not ultra-biased or contradicts the Constitution of or a federal act validly made. Section 128 of the 1999 Constitution states as follows. 1. Subject to provision of this Constitution, a House of Assembly shall have power by resolution published in its journal or in the official gazette of the government of the state to direct or cause to be directed an inquiry or investigation into A, any matter or things with respect to which it has power to make law, and B, the conduct of affairs of any person, authority, ministry, or government department charged or intended to be charged with the duty of or responsibility for 1, executing or administering law enacted by that House of Assembly, and 2, disbursing or administering monies appropriated or to be appropriated by such house. Hence, the committee recommends that Section 4(2) of the law be retained. 5. Section 5 of the law should be deleted and replaced with the following side notes to read: Coronavirus Pandemic Incident Committee. 1. There is established the Coronavirus Pandemic Incident Committee, referred to in this law as the committee. 2. The committee shall consist of a chairman who shall be the governor or representative and 4 other members to be appointed by the governor. 3. The member of the committee shall be persons of impeccable character and high standing in the state. 6. Create a new section 6 to read Coronavirus Pandemic Fund. 6(1). There is established the Coronavirus Pandemic Fund. 2. The fund shall be managed by the committee. 3. The fund shall consist of funds and donations from individuals, private, public, and international organizations. Conclusion. The committee expresses gratitude to Mr. Speaker and members for the opportunity given to carry out this assignment. We also appreciate the clerk of the House and the Secretariat for their support at ensuring the timely completion of the report. Thank you. Honorable Sokunle.
Honorable Tobo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to move that the report as presented by Honorable Sokunle be adopted for debate.
Honorable Council.
I second the motion as moved.
All in favor say ayes. Those against the ayes have it. Honorable Victor Akode.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to, before much contribution, I want to have our mind to various laws that have been passed by this House, and the executive have done nothing, whether to withhold and communicate same to us as the time due, or to actually reject the bills or the laws that were passed. Even this coronavirus pandemic law we are talking about was passed, if I am correct, on the 38th of March. And with the way Mr. Speaker put us to work assiduously in order to meet the yearning of the people of Lagos State, I hope we actually work seriously and we came up with this law. But instead of the executive to actually assent it or write back to us that this law, there are some errors or there are some amendments to be made, they waited until it is almost dingy. Which to say that assuming all our efforts that were put in place and the coronavirus pandemic is now over, it will be jettisoned and we will not be able to even have the opportunity to go back into this law. I want to refer to some of those laws. We have the Lagos State Local Government Service Commission Law 2020, which was sent to the executive on January 14th, 2020. Up till now, nothing was said about that. Again, the Lagos State Audit Amendment Law 2019 was sent the same day, 14 January 2020. Up to today, nothing was done about it. There is the Lagos State Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law, Amendment Law 2019, which I happen to be a member of it, headed by Honorable Tobu. Then, nothing, it was forwarded to the executive on the 10th September 2019. Nothing was heard up till now. Again, the Lagos State Public Procurement Law 2019, sent on the 10th of September 2019. Nothing has been done about it. Now, not to think of the Lagos State House of Assembly Service Commission Amendment Law 2019, which was sent on the 27th May 2019. 27th May 2019. By the time it will be 27th May this year,
So,
it will be 1 year.
Let me interject here. Fine, you have raised a very important observation. As the chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, I think you should set another day for this. It should be part of your responsibility to have brought this before the hour. So let us limit ourselves to what we have before us now. So we can just treat this and come back to that later. You know, because by the time we start making reference to all you have said now, it will take us away from the main assignment before us. So let's set that aside. I know you are the chairman of the Committee on Judiciary, but let's concentrate on today's assignments.
Thank you, sir. Oh, that's all for now.
Thank you. Honorable Mohammed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, I would like to commend the committee which have worked on these particular reports. I just want to make some certain observations on part of the recommendations. As earlier said, this is a well-drafted one. Now, recommendation number 1, if you permit me to say, sir, in modern legal drafting, sir, there has been somewhat some distinguished usage with the word pursuant and the word subject to. In modern legal drafting, sir, when you say something is subject to, it somewhat gives it a limitation, sir. When we say pursuant to, it's almost like it's in consonance with it, sir. So when we leave the word that you're subject to, sir, in current legal drafting, sir, it's preferred to say it's a pursuant to. It's for the ease and understanding and the lack of ambiguity in understanding it, sir. I am somewhat of the opinion that it should be pursuant to the law, not subject to the law, sir. Observation number 3, sir, which is with regards to the powers of the governor to declare a state of emergency. Yes, Section 305 guards and guarantees this particular power. However, sir, I would like us to read this particular section in consonance with the quarantine law. If you permit me to read, sir, or maybe I should just quote it, sir. Under the quarantine law, section 4, sir. Permit me to read, Mr. Speaker.
Which quarantine law are you referring to?
Quarantine Act, sorry. The Quarantine Act, sir. If you permit me to read, sir, it says, Section 3, it says power to declare any place an infected local area. Firstly, it says The president may by notice declare any place, whether within or without Nigeria, to be an infected local area, and thereupon such place shall be an infected local area within the meaning of this act. Now, sir, the same section, sir, which is section 8, further down, specifically speaks about the state's quarantine and powers, and I'll shortly read it as well too. It says, if and to the extent that any declaration under section 2 or 3 of this act has not been made, and to the extent that the regulation under section 4 of this act have not been made by the president, the power to make any such declaration and to make such regulations may be exercised in respect to the state by the governor thereof, as fully as such powers may be exercised by the president and subject to the same conditions there, sir. So, Mr. Speaker, my opinion is that we shouldn't read this state of emergency powers in isolation, sir. There will be different situations that would warrant for a governor to invoke a state of emergency. In a situation like this now, we're talking about a pandemic, and we're talking about something related to a quarantine act, sir. So I don't think the governors, these are emergencies that have been stated for, not only in the Constitution, but we should read it in consonance with the Quarantine Act, which allows the governor that power to be able to do what has been said, sir. Those are my observations, Mr. Speaker.
Is there anything in this recommendation number 3 that says otherwise? That the governor should not exercise that power?
So, sir, if you read it in conjunction with their...
Can you please raise your voice?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
So, if you read it with respect to their own observations, which is the section 2, because it says it derogates the power granted to governor in sections 2 and 1.3, sir. I'm reading their observations, our recommendations, sir.
It will reduce.
No, what they said, sir. I'm reading it. It says...
From where? Where are you reading from?
Observations 4.0, sir.
4.0.
Yes, sir. 4.0, sir.
Okay.
Now, their observation number 3 says that section 3.2b and its proviso be deleted, for it's unnecessary to limit the period of declaration of a state of emergency to 3 months or prescribe the time mode of a state of emergency. So the context here, sir, my understanding...
This is an observation.
Yes, from them.
What they notice at the deliberation level. It's just an observation. It has no relevance with the recommendation. The recommendation is their own position on this matter.
So the observations that we have here were what the executive sent to us as their own, sir.
Yes.
So it's with that I'm reading, I'm taking observation 3.
You are saying indirectly that we should embrace the observation of the executive.
Well, sir, I'm saying that we should read it in consonance with the Quarantine Act law, sir.
If you look at even the acts you are saying, where you place it side by side with the Constitution, which one is supreme?
The Constitution is supreme, sir.
And it provides for emergency situation.
Yes, sir.
And in that, it allows the Parliament to do what? That the President must make recourse to the Parliament.
Yes, sir.
So you can't do otherwise. Whatever it is, the governor has the power to make proclamation. But all we are saying is that there must be reason. And the governor must also share such reason with the House.
Take it, Mr.
If the House
Speaker.
is representing the people, we should be able to know what informs such decision. And we are also in position to say if 30 days is enough, 60 days or 90 days. That is just the essence. It's not depriving the governor its power at all.
Understood, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Honorable Setonji.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. Right Honorable Speaker. I want to commend this committee for a job well done. They have actually addressed all the issues. But we must also be mindful of the essence of democracy. That is separation of powers. We are all Lagosians. We all have the same interest. And we are not going to stop the governor from doing his job, but it will be subject to the House. That is what the Constitution says. So I want to agree with all the recommendations that no matter how urgent the situation is, the, the House must be able to, perform its own function to ensure that the Constitution is upheld, which is to separate the functions. And by that we are saying that no matter how urgent a matter is, the governor has direct access to the speaker, no matter how urgent, just like the way we passed the bill itself. We did it expressly. That is why we must also ensure that the essence of the law is to make sure that we don't have a governor in the future that will abuse that position. That's why I want to commend this, once again, commend the committee and add that this recommendation be adopted, sir. Thank you.
Honorable Desmond.
Thank you, my right honorable speaker, sir. Good afternoon, honorable colleagues. As a member of the committee, sir, I just wanted to observe that there's a bit of omission in section 4, or in number 4 of the recommendation, where it says the governor should be mindful of the fact that the funds referred are funds not budgeted for. So in expatiating, which I'm sure was omitted, funds include all funds allocated and dedicated to fight COVID-19, including the fiscal stimulus packages, as well as all donations by corporate and private bodies. Thank you, sir.
Since you have raised that, equipment, items, and assets.
Inclusive, sir.
So I was thinking of that, because we are talking about fund. So those who donate vehicles, equipment, and other beds, and also there are other items. So you have to include that.
Thank you, sir.
We have to. Thank you. Honorable Kasim.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was also going to point out what Honorable Elliott just mentioned, and of course corroborated by your right honorable self. I want to commend the committee for a job well done. In fact, I would say naturally that this report is a very straightforward one, but I want to just lay particular emphasis on the observation 5 that has been enumerated here, that it creates an additional bureaucracy by creating a bond, and I want to commend the committee for coming up with a perfect solution in making sure that they incorporate a recommendation that says that the governor can be the chairman, as the incident commander, can be the chairman of that committee. It all goes back to one thing: accountability. As long as the monies that we're talking about and the donations, the grants, the assets, and what have you, are donated in the name of Lagos State government, there is all that necessity for the executive to take that into particular cognizance and, of course, do it with accountability and recourse to the House of Assembly. So I must re-emphasize that everything that has to do with the funds are backed up by the law of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. So I want to once again congratulate the committee for a job well done.
Honorable Oshodi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me join my colleagues in commending the committee for the industry they put into this. I just have one or two observations. 5053. In the proposed bill, what we have is 3 months, but in the Constitution of Nigeria, 6 months is indicated. I hope that we'll change our 3 months to 6 months in conformity and in tandem with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Also, Mr. Speaker, sir, I also want to talk to the section 6.3. The fund shall consist, 6.3, which says that the fund shall consist of funds and donations from individuals, private, public, and international organizations. Unless the public is defined to include the government contribution, if not the governmental contribution, don't forget that you gave the state government about 20 billion, so to speak, to spend. So it must include also money from...
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
There is a provision already for the government to extract from the existing budgets. So that cannot be categorized as donation. We have made provision for that already. So it is, we are thinking of something coming from elsewhere, which has not been considered in the existing budget. So they can always draw, but that's because we have that itemized and stipulated already. So we can easily trace that and identify where they have drawn such amount of money. So this is particularly for those that will be coming elsewhere, which has no provision in existing budgets.
In that instance, sir, Mr. Speaker, then it means that the way it is couched, that the fund shall consist of funds and donations. The funds should be removed to say that the fund shall consist of donations.
Funds. In donation, when you say other donations, it can be fund, it can be items, it can be equipment, it can be any other thing. So it's for us to define what we have under donation. And so far, I think what we have received as a government is the fund. Honorable Omi Laiwala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, my colleagues. I want to speak to section 4 of the report that we have here, as well as correspondence from the Attorney General. It has to do with the reply that the Commissioner sent to us, that Mr. Governor is of the view that, I quote, sir, Mr. Governor is of the view that the provision requiring him to render account at the end of the pandemic under Section 4.2 of the law is superfluous. I wish to state that it's not superfluous, but it's necessary. I will cite an instance, sir, of Section C, where it says it is also necessary to state that today 90% of funds disbursed on the pandemic are donations and grants given to the state government in cash and kind, while the remaining 10% is from funds already budgeted and allocated to the Ministry of Health. We need to remind the Attorney General that the donation and grants, as he claimed here, are revenues accrued to the state government. And under Section 120 of Nigerian Constitution as amended, sir, Section 1 states that, with the kind permission of the Mr. Speaker, it states all revenue or other means, all other money raised or received by a state, opening of bracket, not being revenue or other monies payable under this Constitution or any law of a House of Assembly into any other public fund of the state estimated for a specific purpose, that's closing of the bracket, shall be paid into and form one consolidated revenue fund of the state. Thus, any donations, sir, that the state government receives from corporate bodies, individuals, religious bodies, etc., should be domiciled in CRF, Consolidated Revenue Fund. And we need to let the executive know that subsection 3 says, with your kind permission, that no money shall be withdrawn from any public fund of the state other than the consolidated revenue of the state, unless the issue of money has been authorized by a law of the House of Assembly of the state. Mr. Speaker, sir, what we are saying here is not the issue of whether the executive can or cannot be trusted with management of fund. What we are saying is that there should be transparency and trustworthiness on the part of the executive. So I thank the committee for the job that they have done. It was a job well done. And I support the proposition that conclusively says that Mr. Governor should be mindful of the fact that the funds revert to our funds not budgeted for, and it's not in the Consolidated Revenue Fund or Development Fund, but our donations and grants. Thanks so much, sir.
Well, we cannot follow the content of the letter said by the Attorney General. Letter by letter. We just look at the contents and do the needful. I quite agree with you. Every fund, it doesn't matter in what form, donation, grant, and all sorts. The Constitution is clear, as you have cited it. It's just too clear. So it is our own duty to do what is right. And it is for them to follow the outcome of our own efforts, and most especially the Constitution. Fine, looking at the situation at hand, where it might be difficult to follow every letter of the Constitution, the need for us to set aside a fund for the governor to expend in this situation. And that is why the law says after, then they will come forward to give account of whatever they have expended. So, but if you want to follow this, what they are saying is, we won't, in fact, we will not achieve the purpose of sitting over this bill. So we just, overlook some things and continue with what we are doing. And also in recommendation, there's one other problem that we have to address now. If not, we'll be setting in place a kind of confrontation. If you set up a committee and you make a governor the chairman of the committee, and the committee has suggests in this bill, we come back to give the account of whatever expenditure they incurred, which means the governor has to come as the chairman to come and explain. And that's somehow we set one arm against the other. So it's better we introduce co-chairman to avoid others. So if the governor can always delegate to such person to come and explain, but it is a sacrosanct that definitely there must be explanation, because the money is given to the states. It's not to Mr. Governor or to Mr. Speaker or to the state, and there must be accountability thereafter. And the Constitution, as cited by Honorable Laiwola, is so clear that every fund must go directly to this. But now that we have an emergency situation, which means there must be understanding between the House and the Executive to set up a separate account that we can warehouse all these donations. That understanding must be reached. If not, I think something will be missing somewhere. So we just have to do that and set, it's for us to do what is right and send such to them to follow. So I think, Honorable Braimoh, you still have something to say.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I think we deserve a special commendation and gratitude from the executive. Because from what Honorable Olaiwola said now, if all funds must go into the Consolidated Revenue Fund and cannot come out unless with the law of the House of Assembly, so without the law of the House of Assembly, that would mean that all expenditures so far are illegal. So we should be thanked for bringing this to the fore, and we should be commended and appreciated. Thank you, sir.
If you have not if you have not back on trial, so you cannot claim somebody has performed illegality. So let us just agree that we must inform them there's a need for the understanding of the House to create a special account for donation on COVID-19. You know, so there must be understanding between the two arms of government so that at least we won't get into kind of we are in lockdown, so there will be lockdown. It's all right. Thank you very much. I think who is moving motion to adopt the recommendation of the committee? Honorable Kasumu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I therefore move that the recommendations of the committee as amended be adopted as the resolution of the House. I so move.
Honorable Setonji.
I rise to support the.
Sit down. You second the motion.
I second the motion.
All in favor say aye. Those against nay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Yeah. Chairman today, Braimoh.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, distinguished colleagues, this is the report of the House Committee on Information Strategy and Security on a bill on a letter received from the Attorney General pursuant to the amended bill of the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Agency law. The House at plenary on Monday, 4th May 2020, deliberated on a letter addressed to the Clerk of the House titled Observation on the recently passed Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Agency Amendment Law 2020, signed by the Attorney General of the State, and the House committed same to the committee for scrutiny. Consequently, the committee held meetings and deliberated on the current points raised in the letter. Mr. Speaker, kindly permit me, sir, to move to 3.0 observations raised in the letter. Mr. Speaker, the committee observed that as follows. 1. Section 21 of the law subjects the appointment of the Lagos State Amotekun Corps Commander to confirmation of the House of Assembly, while Section 23 of the same law also makes the removal of the Corps Commander by the Governor subject to the concurrence of the House of Assembly. 2. The appointment of the General Manager saddled with the running of the affairs of the agency, of which the Amotekun Corps is just a part, under Section 6 of the law, does not require confirmation by the House of Assembly, and so also its removal does not require similar concurrence. 3. By virtue of Section 24 of the law, the Amotekun Corps Commander reports so and is under the supervision of the General Manager of the agency. 4. Section 21 and 3 be rectified by deleting the appointment and removal of the Amotekun Corps Commander to the approver, by deleting the requirement that the appointment and removal of the Amotekun Corps Commander be subject to the approval of the State House of Assembly. Those are the issues raised in the letter. The committee observed, observation of the committee 4.0, that having considered extensively the observations raised by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice of the State, the committee observed as follows, that the issues raised in item 1 and 2 above were read in isolation of Section 14(1) and 2 of the Principal Law, which provides 1. Section 14(1) and 2 of the Principal Law, that is the Lagos State Neighborhood Safety Corps Agency Law 2019, provides for the Secretary, Executive Secretary of the agency. For ease of reference, this section states that 1. Secretary to the agency. There shall be for the agency an Executive Secretary who shall be a legal practitioner with at least 10 years post-call experience. 2. the Executive Secretary shall be appointed by the governor based on a competitive selection process to be advertised in a widely read newspaper in the state, and such appointment shall be subject to the confirmation of the House. Therefore, it is not correct to say that the appointment that is the case, that is the appointment of the Executive Secretary made by the governor is not subject to the confirmation of the House. Further to the above, Section 6 of the Amendment Law has changed the nomenclature of the Executive Secretary of the agency to General Manager. Number 3, it is also observed from the provisions of Section 14 of the Principal Law that the appointment of the General Manager is subject to the confirmation of the House of Assembly. Section 14 of the Principal Law subjects the appointment of the General Manager to the confirmation of the House of Assembly. Item 4 on the letter suggests that deleting of Section 21 and 3 of the Amendment Law, it is the opinion of the committee that the creation of the Lagos Amotekun Corps Unit was made to respond to the security needs of the state. And given the fact that the Lagos Amotekun Corps may carry arms, the House of Assembly considered it expedient that the appointment of the commander of the Amotekun Corps be subject to the confirmation of the House of Assembly in view of the sensitivity of the office, the character, antecedents, pedigree, background, temperament, mental stability, and track record of the nominee must be critically examined as much as possible in the best interest of the state. 5. The confirmation of the appointment of the Lagos Amotekun Corps Commander or General Manager of the agency is not a novel practice of the House of Assembly, and this is not in any way to undermine the executive powers of the governor, but to collaborate and cooperate with the governor in ensuring that the best hands head the state's agencies. 5. The committee therefore recommends that 1. The provision of Section 21 of the law, which subjects the appointment of the Lagos Amotekun Corps Commander to the confirmation of the House, be retained, as it is a practice and procedure of the House that sensitive appointments must be subjected to the confirmation of the House. More so, it is expedient that the appointment of the Amotekun Corps Commander be properly scrutinized. 2. The provisions of Section 23 of the Amendment Bill, which subjects the removal of the Lagos Amotekun Corps Commander to the concurrence of the House, be deleted, as the committee agrees that there should be a single line of discipline in accordance with public service establishment and engagement rules. The provision is strange to extant public disciplinary procedures. Conclusion, the House expresses its gratitude to Mr. Speaker and the members for the opportunity given it to carry out the assignment. We also appreciate the Clerk of the House and the Secretariat for their support and in the timely completion of the report. Signed on Tunde Braimoh, Chairman of the Committee on Information Strategy and Security, 7th May 2020. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Jude.
Sir, I hereby move that this report should be debated by the whole House, sir.
Be adopted for debate.
I hereby move that this report should be adopted for debate by the whole House, sir.
Honorable Akonde.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hereby second the
All in favor say ayes. Those against no, the ayes have it. I don't really think there's anything to debate in this bill, except if there's anyone that has a reservation about what we have. Kasumu, is there anything you want to?
Not exactly, sir. I just wanted to re-emphasize and remind the executive that the combination of the state as a whole is made up of 40 distinct constituencies in the state. And of course, issues that borders around security matters must be something that must be treated community by community. So the essence of the recommendations as put forward by the chairman is really pertinent at this point. So I want to commend the committee for a job well done. It is extremely straightforward, sir.
If there is no other comment, observation, or amendment, Honorable O.
Thank you, sir. I move that the recommendation of the committee be adopted as the resolution of the House. I so move.
Honorable Ojid.
I second the motion as moved.
Who is sitting behind you? Oh, what transfer you from here? Oh, okay. All in favor, say ayes. Those against the ayes have it. Yeah, Deputy Majority Leader.
Right, Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues. After robust debate and extensive debate, I hereby move that this House resolves back to plenary. I so move.
Honorable Kayode Joseph.
I second the motion as moved.
All in favor, say ayes. Those against, nay. The ayes have it. Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. At the Committee of the Whole, we took two reports from Honorable Sokunle and Honorable Tunde Braimoh. The reports were well articulated and well marshaled, and members contributed, and there was a resolution after much debate. I want to say that that was what happened at the Committee of the Whole. Thank you, sir.
Honorable Tobu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to affirm that that was through the cap of what transfer at the Committee of the Whole.
Honorable Makinde.
I rise to support the motion.
All in favor, say ayes. Those against, nay. The ayes have it.
Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I have the approval of the Right Honorable Speaker to move that this House adjourns till Monday, 11th of May 2020 at 12 noon. I so move.
Observation, sir. Sir, today is the Yoruba session. So
Okay, you should go back to the refers back. So, thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I wish to move that
You
Rule 11.
withdraw your first motion. Take it back.
Okay, sir. Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I wish to move that my first motion be withdrawn. I so move.
Doesn't need any motion. You just withdraw it yourself. It has not been seconded, so you step it down yourself.
All right. Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I wish to step down my first motion. Thank you, sir. Right Honorable Speaker, distinguished colleagues, I wish to move that Rule 11 of the Rules and Standing Orders on the use of Yoruba language be resuscitated. I so move.
Honorable Temitope.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise second the motion as moved.
All in favor, say ayes. Those against, nay. The ayes have it. Yeah. Deputy, Igbákejì olórí ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ tó pọ̀ jùlọ.
Olùdarí àti gbogbo àwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́, mo fẹ́ dá alábàá pé kí a mú ìpàdé ìrọ̀ títí di ọjọ́ Ajé ní tó jẹ́ ọjọ́ 12 nínú oṣù.
Ọjọ́ 12 àbá ọjọ́ 11.
Ọjọ́ 11 nínú oṣù tí a wà yìí ní agogo 12 gẹ́rẹ́gẹ́. Mo dá alábàá.
Aṣòfin Tìjání.
Ẹ ṣé olùdarí, mo dé láti kí àbá yẹn lẹ́yìn.
Kí a tó mú ìbéèrè, ìpàdé kékeré á wáyé lẹ́yìn ìjókòó ilé. A sún ìjókòó ilé síwájú títí di ọjọ́ Ajé ọjọ́ 11 oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2020 ní dédé aago 12. Mo gbéra sọ.